What is going on, everybody? Welcome to today's YouTube video. Today is Tuesday. Getting ready to put in a couple miles here on the bike. Gonna hop on Zwift, but wanted to record today's workout. Also talk about yesterday. So yesterday, it's getting pretty cold out here. We had our first snowfall this last weekend, and it brought, a good amount of snow. So it all pretty much melted right now, but temperatures are definitely down. So yesterday, I wanted to go to the gym anyways to do a little bit of core. So I just hopped on the treadmill, did my 3 miles there. I pretty much solidified my schedule for working out right now. Monday, Wednesday, Friday, running, easy runs. Normally sticking around like that 3 mile mark. And then Saturday, I'm going to do my longer runs, probably like 5 or 6 miles. For the time being until I up my mileage. Tuesday, today, and Thursday are going to be accessory and also just cross training. So throwing in a swim, throwing in a bike. I know I'm not really putting a lot of emphasis on it right now, but like right now my bike is just on a trainer, so I don't really think it simulates that much what I'll actually be experiencing. And then also swimming. The indoor pool, that's pretty much the best that I can do right now. And I know it's only 1 day a week, but it'll start to kick up once I get closer to triathlon, and then I'm going to start hitting some open water later. But yeah, so I'm going to hop on the bike here. It'll be a pretty easy spin. I think I'm just going to hop on Zwift, but just do like a free ride and just kind of monitor my heart rate. One thing that I've come across, I'm not sure if you've heard about it, but it's called the Maffetone method for controlling your heart rate. I actually found out that it's incorporated in the Garmin watch already that I use. But basically what you do is take 180 minus your age. So in my case, 22. So that's 158. And then subtract 10. So 148. So between 148 and 158, that's my aerobic zone. So that's where my easy run should be. That's kind of where like the bulk, 80% of my training should be. And then when it comes to like intervals and harder training threshold, that's when I kick it up. But I've heard a ton of people that have trained and regretted training too hard, going all out from the beginning. And that was definitely my mentality from the beginning. I'm just so glad that I've seen people reflect on that and tell me that it's bad. It's totally rewiring my brain to train this way. But everything that I've heard is like, this is the only way to train if you want to be able to stay on top of your health, but also just get the most results. So 80% of my training and 80% of, a lot of elite athletes training is easy stuff. Just putting in the miles, getting the heart rate up, but monitoring it, because you can overtrain yourself. You can burn out really quick. So yesterday was my first really disciplined run within that heart rate. Obviously, it was a super slow pace, which is killer for me because I'm just really competitive with myself and I want to be up there. But I know that I'm going to do a lot more benefit for myself now and for the future if I just stay disciplined and train that way. So it's going to be the same on the bike today. And then I'm going to start to incorporate some threshold and some other stuff along the way. So it's not just all slow. But I'm going to hop into the bike and then talk a little bit more about like my setup, my plans for winter training, because that's definitely a factor out here in Utah. But we're not going to waste any time. We're just going to get into it. All right, so just finished up a 30-minute easy spin, I guess you could say. Um, Again, I was tracking my heart rate, just trying to stay within that aerobic zone. Nothing really too strenuous. 30 minutes. I don't know what it said on Zwift for the distance, but I wasn't really going for that anyway. So yeah, finish up the workout. I'm gonna go clean up for a second, just because I don't want to be sweaty and gross. And then I will show you kind of what the setup is here and my plans are for winter training. So I'll see you in a second. All right, so as you can see, we've got some cold weather coming in. It wasn't really like a question of if we would get snow here in Utah, it's just kind of like when we would get it. So I was already preparing for kind of what I would do for my training for the winter. The really nice thing is the gym that I go to is down the street. They've got a pool with 3 lanes, normally super empty, so that's not really an issue. And then a ton of treadmills as well. So yesterday was my first time since I started training running on a treadmill. I actually really enjoyed it. It got a little bit hot inside, but I think that the treadmill has a little bit more cushion or like impact relief, I guess. I don't know. I'll still try to get some training in outside. My main concern is just like ice and snow on the roads. But like for example, today all of the snow melted, so today could be a day where even if it's cold, I just throw a beanie and some gloves on and still run outside. So running is still going to be incorporated. Swimming isn't really an issue. I don't have an outdoor pool or something that's going to be closed, so that's taken care of. The one thing was cycling, obviously. So I'm not a big fan of cycling in the cold. I guess I don't really have gloves or gear or anything, but I think it's just a pain. Even if you have like leg warmers and stuff, because you'll most likely have to take them off during the ride, and I'm just not really into that. So mostly for my training for the winter, it's just going to be getting the miles in, getting the cycling done. So I'm going to show you kind of my setup for what I have for the bike. Right, now it's actually kind of funny because when Katie and I first came to look at this house, we pulled up to it and we thought these double doors were the master bedroom. But later when we came and actually walked inside of the house, we discovered, so it actually ended up being this garage room, which you kind of saw during the workout, and I'll show you a little bit more. But basically what we assume is that this actually used to be the garage, but they built some additions to the house. They also built the carport, which is just kind of a roof over our driveway, and that's actually where we park our cars. And then they just enclosed off this area. So the family that lived in here before us, they just had an extra refrigerator in here. But the second I walked into this room, when we came to look at it, I was like, wow, this is going to be a perfect gym. So I finally got Katie on board, and slowly but surely we're definitely going to be turning it into a gym. Just starting out with some flooring, a pull-up bar, eventually like a squat rack and a bench and some other things. But for now, this is my setup for my bike. So just to kind of show you what I've got going on here, I actually just use our trash can to hold my iPad that actually does the Zwift app. So it's kind of a pain. I have to bring it out here every time. So yeah, just use the iPad for Zwift for the app. The app is like $15 a month, I think. But there's races on there, there's free riding, and there's also like training, like interval training and some other stuff. So I really think that it's going to be worth it, especially for the indoor season. This bike I actually picked up at the beginning of summer, I believe. I actually just bought it off of KSL, which I think is actually only available in like Utah, Wyoming, and Idaho. But it's basically like Craigslist. So I got it off of a guy that used to do a lot of biking. This is the bike that I'll be using for training, and I'll probably just add some aero bars and stuff, and still use it as my actual triathlon bike. Now I recently, with the weather and everything, picked up this trainer. So this is the Cyclops Fluid 2 trainer. So definitely saves a lot of money. You can get crazy and get, the smart trainers, the Wahoo, all of that stuff that actually reacts to hills and makes it harder and calculates watts and things like that. I'm not really looking to invest that much money into it right now. Obviously, that's on the wish list for the future. But for now, just a trainer. And I'll show you the other thing that I have. So in order to use the Zwift app, you actually have to have something that calculates your speed as well as a compatible trainer. So that's why I bought, first of all, the CycleOps Fluid Trainer 2, because that's compatible with Zwift. And then also this Wahoo speed sensor. It was $40, I believe. So the Wahoo speed sensor actually connects to the app so that it actually notices that your wheel is moving and allows you to use it. So without a trainer and without at least a speed sensor or cadence sensor, I believe, you can't use the app. So that's the very minimum that you have to have, and so that's just what I went with. So this is the setup. I'm going to put a ton of miles over the winter in here. This room again is super nice because it has that garage feel. It's like 15 to 20 degrees colder all the time than the actual inside of the house, which is nice for training. If it ever gets too cold, I could use a space heater, but I tend to sweat in here no matter what. So this is the setup. The bike I'll be doing here mostly, and then when I need to go swim or running, it might split, but I'm sure in December and January I will not want to be running out in the streets, so it'll probably be primarily at the gym, and swimming will be there. The other thing that is going to be kind of nice about being forced to go to the gym to run and to swim is I actually want to be able to incorporate a little bit more strength training into my program, other than just pull-ups and push-ups. I completely want to avoid the triathloner's body, which I just realized is kind of a thing. Any guy that's doing an Ironman or competing in the Olympics for a triathlon, I'll put up a few examples, but I still want to have some kind of definition on my body and still be in good shape strength-wise as well. So going to the gym is going to just give me an excuse to be there, incorporate some strength movements, not bodybuilding because I don't want to put on mass. But I still want to be strong. I want to do some squats. I want to power through the bike and still be maintaining some of that muscle as well. So that's pretty much the plan as far as winter training goes. And so as far as how long that will last, that really just depends on Mother Nature. So it may go until February, may go until March, but as soon as it starts to warm up, then I'm going to be hitting the bike outside so I can do some hills, do some kind of more real life cycling. I think running and swimming will be fairly the same. I definitely need to do some open water swimming. But as far as conditions go, I think the biggest difference will probably be biking from a trainer to outside. But this is going to keep me in shape for the winter at least. And then we'll see what the spring brings. Triathlon, I'm not sure yet. I think the marathon that I'm going to do is in June. It's the Utah Valley Marathon. And I'm not sure if I'm going to do the triathlon in May or if I'm going to do the triathlon afterwards in like July or something. So we'll just see. I'll have to keep y'all posted on which ones once I decide. All right, so that pretty much does it for today's video. Thank you guys so much for watching if you've made it to this point. I will be going to the gym a little bit later with Katie. We're just going to do some additional core, I think, nothing crazy. I just want to be able to go and train with her as well. I did just want to share one last thing. Going along with Conquer and everything that I shared last week, the message of Conquer is really holistic self-improvement. So not only working out and bench pressing and running and all of that stuff, I really wanted to put an emphasis on developing the entire person. I think that in order to really contribute to society and be your best self, it's not enough to just lift a ton of weight or run super far. I don't think anybody really cares if you can run a marathon if you're just a really terrible person. So things that I do to try to just go along with that, obviously my faith, just trying to exercise that, but also just books. So I wanted to share something from this book that I'm currently reading. It's called Atomic Habits by James Clear. I would super recommend this book from just a little bit that I've read so far. But there was just a line that I read today in the introduction. I kind of lost my place, so I had to start over. But in the introduction, he just says that oftentimes the quality of our lives depends on the quality of our habits. So that really just struck me, and I think that that's just so important. I absolutely love the opportunities that life gives us, and just living in this country to be able to just be in control. Just if there's something that we don't like about ourselves, about our lives, about our situation, being able to take control and change those things. And so I talk a lot about that, I think, in my blogs. If you haven't checked it out yet, iliveconquer.com. It's also in the description below. But yeah, I mean, I'm all about kind of seizing the moment, seizing your life, taking back control, and just implementing these habits little by little. And I love what he talks about. He's a big advocate on the process. And I think I've talked about that in my last video too. That's what this whole channel's about, is the process. Not really showing just like once I have already completed those goals, a marathon, and I'm running these huge miles, because I think that's a bit intimidating. But starting from the very beginning, the struggle, the process, just so that you all can follow this journey. I think that this book and that line really apply to that as well. So that pretty much wraps it up for this video. Like I said, I've got that schedule going on for my training. I'm going to be doing a video a week. So I think I'll just mix it up on what I cover: running, biking, and swimming. But if there's something that you all specifically want to see, or suggestions or training tips, like I said, I mean, I'm a total rookie. So if you have any more experience in this, I'm sure it's going to help either way. So anyways, thanks again for tuning in for this video. Go out and conquer.